Doesn't matter how many type ratings you have to be able to hold a medical. Make sure that whatever you do, you focus first on keeping yourself healthy, and then everything else falls in line from there.
Most pilots don't understand what career opportunities are available in the world of aviation. They're making career decisions based on advice from friends or posts on internet forums, meaning they are taking huge risks with their livelihood without having all the details. This podcast was created to help you understand the aviation industry so you can find your dream job. Let's get ready for Pushback. Here's your host and my dad, Nick Fialka.
Hey, pilot, welcome back to Ready for Pushback. It's me, Nick Fialka. We are here together, and it's going to be a great day. I hope that you are getting to do whatever it is you love. I hope that if it's something fun, you are doing it. And if it has to do with flying, you know I'm excited for you. But you know what? Sometimes we hit speed bumps on our road. And I've talked about speed bumps before, but today I wanted to talk about your medical. And that is the thing that keeps you in the air as much as it is the FAA certificates that you have. To be able to leverage those certificates, doesn't matter how many type ratings you have to be able to hold a medical. And most of the professional flying requires you to hold a Class 1 medical. There's a Class 1, a Class 2, and a Class 3. I don't pretend to know the specifics about them, but the Class 1 is the more rigorous, being the FAA monitors and manages this in Oklahoma City. And they have a team that is responsible for making sure that pilots are fit to fly. And you can go down a really long rabbit hole about the fact that the FAA is really underfunded, and the medical team that is in Oklahoma City responsible for all of this is very small. It's way, way, way too small. And there's a lot of bureaucracy and a lot of trash that we are just stuck with, being just people that have nowhere to go other than the FAA. And so when something happens to you, you have to be really careful about whether or not you might lose your medical. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about that and kind of go through it a little bit. I have lost my medical before. I had a medical condition that popped up that I was diagnosed with, and I lost my medical for a couple of months. I had to go see some doctors, see some specialists, and get a sign-off. But here's what I learned about that short time. The first thing I learned is this. For each diagnosis that you have, there is a corresponding requirement that the FAA examines to make sure that you meet that requirement in order to get a special issuance, which is like a waiver to continue flying. So an easy one to consider is maybe you have glasses. Well, you have to have 20/20 vision or 20 whatever, but you can also get a waiver, get a special issuance for glasses. And you have to carry your glasses with you. You have to have an extra pair in your bag. Those are the things that they require. If you have sleep apnea, you lose your medical because they don't want people falling asleep in the plane. But you can get a waiver if you get a CPAP machine and go through the process and you show 30 days of using a CPAP machine with an average of 6 hours per night. And they have a whole list. When you go to the Google machine and type in FAA requirements for sleep apnea, and it will walk you through all the things that are required. So if you have something that comes up, you should go there to see if it is something that you can get a special issuance for. And that's an important thing to remember. Even if you have your medical right now and everything's great, just put that in the back of your mind that one day you might have to go look for a special issuance, and you can find those online. Some things, lots of things, you can get special issuances for. But then there are other things that maybe you can't, or maybe take a really long time, such as maybe you had a brain tumor. Maybe you had some kind of terrible cancer. Maybe you lost a limb or an eyeball or something like that. You have to go through a long, lengthy process. and provide massive, massive amounts of paperwork back and forth to the FAA in order to get that special issuance. And it can take years sometimes. I have a friend with a detached retina, and he has been down for more than 2 years. I mean, gee whiz, guys, it can be a lot of different things, and it can take a really long time to get it back. So, what does that mean to you? Let's talk about the pilot. Let's talk about you listening. Why is this important? This is important because of a couple things. Number one, the whole reason you're a pilot is so that you can make enough money to afford your life, whatever your life is, whether it's just you, whether it's 10 people, whether it's 2 people, whether it's you and a dog, whatever it is, you need a job that can pay you. And so you need to have a game plan when it comes to what if. If you lose your medical, you could certainly have loss of license insurance, which can help you bridge that gap, which I highly recommend. I certainly have it. Because what happens if let's say you are working for an airline, you go on sick leave first. Once you burn through your sick leave, you go on short-term disability. Once you burn through that short-term disability, it's got a sundown date. Then you start long-term disability. And that long-term disability, depending on what airline you're at, it depends how much money you're going to make. What kind of insurance you have can really affect that. And so it's up to you to know if you have enough insurance to cover the cost of your lifestyle. And you have to be highly, highly aware of that. Let's say that it doesn't. Let's say that all of a sudden you lost your medical and you've got nothing coming in. Then what are you going to do? It's probably time to start thinking about a job. And that's the tricky part, because what skills do you have as an airline pilot or a professional pilot? Whatever your avenue is, it's flying. And that's kind of your only skill. You might have a side hustle. You might be doing real estate. You might be doing a podcast. You might sell books. Who knows what you're doing? I know a guy with a Wagyu beef farm. Like, there could be side hustles everywhere. So hopefully you have one that can help you manage your life and succeed and not go into panic mode. But it always helps to think about what are the other things you could do. And I've been thinking about that a little bit, and I have put together a little list. It's not all inclusive, but it's some ideas. It's a starting point. And I thought it would be fun to talk about. So what jobs could you do? Well, the first thing you can do is look at your airline. Maybe there's an opportunity at your airline. You, as a pilot in flight operations, maybe if you have a degree, maybe some kind of master's or something to that nature, you might be able to actually qualify for a non-union job. You might be able to work in flight operations, maybe work in scheduling, maybe work in finance, who knows? But there's great opportunity to do that and look there. And the company that I work for, they hire sim instructors. They have a separate company that's a subsidiary of the main airline. And that organization hires simulator instructors. And if you have a type rating and you are an airline pilot, pretty good chance you can fall into a sim instructing job. And I'll tell you what, maybe you don't have a type rating in the aircraft that they're looking for. Go apply, go network, go put yourself out there, because you might find yourself in a really serendipitous spot where they just decide, hey, we'll put you through the syllabus, we'll get you signed off, and then we'll make you an instructor. And then you can just go sim instruct. Now, sim instructing is not the most lucrative job. Probably make anywhere between 100 and 175, 190K, something like that. But it's a really great job, right? It's known hours. Sim instructor could be a really, really cool thing. If you are military, you could certainly look back to military sim instructing as well. The companies that have contracts to do simulator instructing, they are always looking for sim instructors these days, because a lot of people that can hold medicals are leaving for the airlines. Let's see, what else? How about flight dispatcher? That's a pretty cool job. You could go and be a dispatcher. Dispatcher is a person who does the flight planning, does all the fuel planning, and makes sure that all the FAA requirements are met for planning flights. And I know that a lot of flight dispatchers are former pilots themselves. It requires some studying and some testing, but it doesn't take a whole heck of a long time. And there's great need for flight dispatchers. So I'm actually going to have one in the future that I interview and we talk all about it. I think that would be a really great job. Let's see. Number 3, maybe a ground instructor. Maybe you're not sim instructing. Maybe you're teaching weather, or you're teaching systems, or you're teaching new to manufacturer day or something like that. You have procedures, new hire, orientation, all of those things. There are ground instructors that do it, and you need to spread a wide net and see if any companies are looking for ground instructors, because you do have great expertise in crew resource management, and you should certainly leverage that. Let's see, what else? How about airport manager or administrator or aviation manager at a 135 or a Part 91 airline? You can look at that. So let's talk about airport managers. Usually airport management requires some kind of specific degree in aviation, and a lot of Embry-Riddle people may have that. There are small airports and medium airports throughout the country that are always looking for quality managers. So please do consider that. As far as aviation, like flight department administrator, you could be a chief or a chief operating officer at a small 91 or 135 outfit, or some company that might have a flight program. I would look at, hey, do you live in Atlanta? Maybe Coca-Cola, maybe Chick-fil-A, they have flight departments. Maybe they need people that have aviation experience, and you would be a good fit. Look at what companies are around you and go down that rabbit hole. And the only way you're going to find out about these is to go get yourself out there and put yourself out there. So check it out. Do you have a background in aviation safety? You could be a safety inspector. You could be a mishap investigator. You could work for the NTSB. You could work for the FAA, doing all sorts of interesting safety investigations or inspections. I have a big heart for safety, and aviation safety is such a specific niche market. If you have a background in that, great opportunity for you to find that. How about aircraft sales or brokeraging? Do you have that winning personality? Are you a catch and everybody wants to be like you, and you're kind of a used car salesman in the sky? Well, let's go. Aircraft sales. I say that used car salesman thing with the most respect, because all of my family are car salesmen, and it's just kind of a running joke in our family. But yeah, aircraft sales, you make a lot of good money doing that, and you just know your way around aviation. You link up buyers and sellers, and you make a commission off of it. Great job. There are plenty other aviation industry consultancies that you could look into, airport planning, and it really just requires you to get involved. It requires you to get uncomfortable and network yourself and put yourself out there. If you do this and you do lose your medical, you should just focus on the fact that there are other things. It's not the end of the world. There are other things that you can do in this aviation industry, and you can make a good living, and you can pay for your life, and you can do all the things that you need to do. But what you need to first do is start broadening your horizons and look at all the different ideas that are out there and think about it and chew on it, and then start learning about each one. As you start learning about them, you can find people on LinkedIn that are involved with that, and you can start reaching out and talking to them and having the conversations to find out what it takes to be involved in that industry. And so I hope you do. And first off, if you've lost your medical, man, I'm sorry. That sucks. It's a shitty thing. And it's a thing that we usually can't control. And I just want you to know that there are opportunities. And that's why I did this episode. It's for you. I just kind of gave you a 10,000 foot view of different jobs you could do. But the first things first, right? Make sure that whatever you do, you focus first on keeping yourself healthy, and then everything else falls in line from there. So that's today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I think you guys are the best. I'm excited for you. I know that you have been working hard. I know that you are trying to grind it out. I know that it seems like a lot of doors are closing right now, but there are doors opening for you. I want you to know that. And there is going to be a door for you as soon as you need it. So just keep the faith, keep listening to the show, and I'll see you on Monday. All right, pilots, that's a wrap on this episode. And I know what you're thinking. You need to make yourself a little bit better. So how do you make yourself a little bit better? You tighten up your resume. So here's what I want you to do. Go over to my website, spitfireelite.com/podcast, and you can download my free resume template. It is literally my resume that you can download and you can put your own skill sets in. It is tight, it is organized, and it's the perfect pilot resume. It's just something I like to do for the pilot group, and it is free to you. So go over there, spitfireelite.com/podcast, and download your free resume template. While you're over there, look at all the services that we offer. Lots of great interview prep, lots of great application review. Everything you need to be a professional pilot is right there at my website, spitfireelite.com/podcast. Thanks, and I'll see you on the next episode.